Hi everyone, it's Sintang Mayumi. I hope everybody's having a good week. For today's card, I decided to use WPlus9 Hibiscus Bouquet stamp. I really like this stamp. So I pull out my Stamp Perfect here to help me with the stamping so I can stamp a few times if I need to get the good crease impression. And I'm just lining up where I want the stamp on the paper. And the paper I'm using here is 90-pound Strathmore watercolor paper because I'm going to fussy cut my image after I color them later, and I'm inking it up with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then I'm going to emboss that image with Wow Clear Gloss Superfine Embossing Powder, and I'm just going to pour some of that clear embossing on top of the image. And I also stamp another one here, so I have two, and then I'm going to melt all that powder with my heat tool. To color this hibiscus flower, by the way, we call this flower gomamela in the Philippines, and I use my zig marker and the color is pink, and I added the color in the middle of the flower, and then I will use a little bit of water to spread out the color and still leaving the center of the flower dark. And then I color the rest of the image, like the other flower and the leaves, with my Daniel Smith watercolors. I will let you watch the coloring part, and then I will be back when it's done. After I colored the floral image, I did fussy cut them with my detailed scissor, and I also used my craft knife. And I'm going over the white edges with my Memento black marker so it will look seamless and you don't see the imperfect fussy cutting. For the first panel, I used this embossing folder by Silix, and then I also die cut that panel with the largest die from Gina Marie Designs Stitch Rectangle die set, and I also did with this panel right here. I'm going to add some color in the middle of this panel just to have color behind my floral bouquet later. And then the color I'm using is Vintage Photo Distress Oxide, and I'm just using my paddle brush to add the color on the paper. For the second panel, I will stamp the floral bouquet repeatedly on the paper to create a background. And I want it to be subtle, so I use Memento London Fog ink. And I also use my Fiskars stamp press to do the stamping. After I'm done creating my background, I will add a little bit of color in the middle, just like what I did with the first panel. And this color is Tumble Glass Distress Oxide. Before I adhere my floral bouquet on my panels, I need to stamp some sentiments. I did run my powder tool first on my scraps of black cardstock to eliminate static before stamping the sentiment on the black paper. And the sentiment is from Hero Arts Occasions Messages. And then I'm going to emboss the sentiment using Wow Opaque Bright White embossing powder, and then just melt the powder with my heat tool. I end up not using the Hello Friend sentiment because it's too small for the front of the card. But what I'm doing here is I'm cutting this long sentiment using my Fiskars trimmer because I want this one to be as straight as possible. I used this stamp set from Altinu called Golden Feathers stamp set, and I'm going to stamp the Hello sentiment on the lower part of the panel with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And as you can see here, I'm just lining up where I want the Hello sentiment. I'm going to stamp the sentiment a few times on the paper so you get that crisp black impression. And then I'm going to pour some of this Wow clear gloss embossing powder, and then just melt those powders with my heat tool. I also pull out a strip of gold glitter paper to add behind the long sentiment, and I'm just using my Fiskars trimmer here to cut it straight. I add a little water on my gold paint to activate it, and this gold paint is from my Gansai Tambi Starry Colors. I'm going to splatter this gold paint on my panels to add something more to my background, and I did that in my bathtub so I don't get all the splatters of gold around my desk. And now it's time to adhere the panels on card base, and my card base is top folding A2 size card base. And I always get my card base at Michael's because they have the 110-pound card base. I like the 110-pound card base because it's thicker and it's not flimsy. So I'm using strong double-sided tape to adhere my panel on the card base, and then I'm using my bone folder to make sure it's all adhered well. I use a little bit of foam tape along the sides on the back of this colored floral bouquet image so it will pop up a little, and also I added liquid glue in the middle and I will adhere it on the panel. I'm also adhering this sentiment with foam tape, and I'm adhering it under the floral bouquet. For the second card, I did the same thing just like my first card. I added foam tape on along the edges on the back of this image, and then add a little bit of glue in the middle and then adhere it on the card. For the inside of the card, I did second generation stamping using the same stamp, and I used Kaleido Tomato Vine ink. I like this ink because when you use it for stamping, you will get 5 colors in one stamping. And then I scattered some of this yellow and pink sequins all around the card, and I'm just adhering it with glossy accents. And lastly, I use my Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen to add shimmer on the flowers, and I think I also did add some shimmer on the leaves. And my cards are finished. As you can see, it's all shimmery, and this is the first card right here, and the second card with the long strip of sentiment. And then I also made this third card here, and this is the first one that I made but I didn't show in the video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.